A potato flew around my room before you came.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It is still preseason playtime where I'm just gonna be trying out, quote unquote, trying out fun units. Fun, by the way, units. But there is a unit that I've never used before that I'm kind of interested in trying out. And if you haven't been spoiled by the title of this video, it's Lua. Ever since she came out last season, she kind of looked incredibly busted, you know, like she's got like all the things that make a good opener, except for one thing. Like she holds guiding light, she has that bullshit free extra turn, she has ignore ER Soulburn, she just could be faster, you know, like she just give her 9 bonus base speed and she'd like literally be the perfect unit. I think the best use of her is as a fast opener with a crit chance neck, so she can ideally proc C Pavel too. But I do not, unfortunately, have a fast crit set neck, a crit chance neck, so I'm just playing with the gear I have. Anyway, my opponent here picks Maid Carmen, which is one of those, I think like Kawerick does it, and I think KHHM does it, where basically like Maid with Shamadras and Carmen with the team imprint, like it gives your DPS units a lot of ER. So they're able to like resist like steady stuns and stuff and like other things. And as expected, like they pick Milim and Arya, both units that really benefit from, well, Milim likes the mitigation from Carmen and the attack buff from Maid, and Arya just really appreciates the ER and the immunity plus like everything else. So I pick C Pavel here on top of my other 2 units. I picked Aiden just because like Aiden's just like your regular safe DPS with some 70% Gamba. I pick Kawerick for souls, and I pick C Pavel here just so I can burst through his team. And I also pick Ida here just to help push up my team and also act as an activator. So if my Lua's banned, there's a very small chance that my opponent's team is going to be very fast, because my opponent is drafting in the style that I would call like gear score kingdom, like where the units aren't fast or like anything, but they have like 450, 440 gear score, so they have a lot of stats. My opponent last picked Senya, and I really don't want to deal with the RNG of Senya right now, so I decided to ban Senya out, and we're going into the first match. It's going to be kind of a gear score check between me and my opponent, I think, where I have to pretty much pray that my units have enough damage to burst down his units, because the second his units are able to like take a turn or do anything, I kind of lose. So I opt to just go for Lua Soulburn S3 there, Cop Guiding Light not proccing, and then I'm able to push up with Ida. I opted to save Lua's S2 just because I might need her to try and strip Arya later or something, but I'm not too sure like what my opponent's gear is like. So I just had to take like the safest route, which involved saving Lua's S2 just for, you know, like a contingency. So thanks to the CR manipulation provided by Ida, we're able to murder this Milim with C Pavel and Aiden S3. And then I go into the Maid just so my opponent is unable to, you know, get that nice heal from her S2 passive, and just ensure that the only unit left that I need to worry about is actually Arya. So since my opponent has souls, I kind of have to go for the Lua S2 onto my opponent's Arya, just because Arya can press Soulburn and then press S3. And it turns out that that was good, because if I slept Arya at the beginning, she would have been woken up by like all the AoEs I spammed at her. But since we saved it till the end, we're able to get a clean sweep of my opponent's team. And a lot of people think that Lua's like a brain dead unit, and she kind of is, but there's like a subtle amount of like skill expression in Lua, because there's a lot of situations with Lua where you're supposed to just like pass or just press S3 or just press S2, S1, and that's a lot of decision making that I think people don't give Lua enough credit for. But like honestly, it's not that much of a skill expression in my opinion. It's just like, there is intricacy, it does exist, it's just not like that big, you know. Anyway, in my match against Pat 3able, we're basically speed racing, and you know I had to do it to them. Since I love using the CashLua emote when my Celius outspeeds these 129, 128 base speed units, we gotta do it with Lua too, you know, it only makes sense. So my opponent basically did not pick any degen units, so I'm free to just keep speed imprinting, and that's basically what I do. I pick larger speed imprints than my opponents, sure, but again, Ran and Peria have like 9 or 8 base speed on me, so I don't feel that bad about it. We're just waiting for my opponent's last pick. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna ban it. I feel kind of bad banning a fun unit, but I could just kind of want to flex my Lua outspeeding with like an equal-ish amount of speed imprints. Yes, like I have 6 more speed in theory, but like whatever. Oh, it just feels so good to be good at this game, you know. So we do CashLua them. We go for the S2, it gets resisted like fucking Lua, like you have one job. So I'm just praying that Lua does not get resisted here by Ran, because that could be really bad. But luckily, although it got resisted, like Beguile got resisted, like my Lua has like 100 effectiveness, by the way, so like I doubt these Cleave units are building ER too. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Laika's able to Vildred, and Vildred does Vildred stuff, and we win with CashLua. So like, we're getting mileage out of that emote for sure. But yeah, I don't think I'll keep Lua gear, just because when I was filming this video, I had to film it for like 3 hours because people just kept pre-banning Lua or post-banning her through the draft, and then I couldn't get any footage. So like that should basically tell you how balanced she is, because nobody wants to play against her, and honestly I can't really blame them, because Lua doesn't have a lot of answers other than like a barrier plus immunity or like LOL outspeeding, but those aren't very reliable or like fun or interactive responses, you know. But in the next game, like we're already in the next draft because I fucking talked too long, but whatever. My opponent picks Hand Guy, and that's basically committing to a slower draft. So I have to obviously punish him for that, because playing slowly in my games, nah, I have things to do, like mass forfeit games when my opponent's pre-ban Lua. So my opponent responds to my Lua Stenny pick with Scarowell and Celine, and I'm gonna show you why Celine is kind of a cope pick. So one of my comments a while back asked why I didn't see Celine often as a counter pick to my Celius or other, you know, non-attack skill units. So the problem with Celine is that Celine does discourage you from pressing buttons, but she doesn't do anything if I don't press any of my buttons, or she's actively hurtful. So I picked 2 immortality units, so even if I proc Celine, like I don't care. Like if it goes into my BBK, bet you're giving me more damage. If it goes into Briar Witch, bet all she's there is to press S3 anyway. And this is where I make a little bit of a mistake. I don't think I should have S2'd here on anything. I think I should have just held it and just pressed S3, because again, like I don't care if my Celine goes into my non-steady DPSs, and my BBK is my highest attack, so that's why I pick her. Like she's tuned to be higher attack than my steady, so she'll always be the target for Celine. And if it's on the random one, I'm willing to risk it. Lol. If you didn't notice, Hand Guy actually resisted the Beguile, I think. So I have to do something a little sketchy here, where I have to Soulburn Briar Witch S3, and I know it's going to be cleansed, but that's the whole point. Like I don't want my opponent to go for the S2 onto BBK and strip her. Like I want to force my opponent into a situation where he has to press S3 with Hand Guy to cleanse all the death breaks off. So unfortunately, Hand Guy does ruin our fun, does all that stuff, whatever. I S3 into Senya just to get some chip damage. I was kind of praying for a crit, but unfortunately we do not get it. And basically it's looking a little tough, I'm not gonna lie, but we still have skill reset on both the Senya and APOC, so we still have like a little bit of wiggle room for that, I guess. But we're really praying for the BBK big dick damage to come through for us. And unfortunately, we do not get enough souls, but whatever, we don't really have a choice. We just have to rip it. We're at least at 1 HP. And we luckily get the crit on everybody, including Senya. And we actually don't want the hand guy to come and S2 anything. And if you didn't know how the interaction works, even if APOC kills Briar Iseria with her S3, Briar Iseria has to be like dead. So we still have another turn, which is why I left APOC up. And with the rest of my DPS units are free to clean APOC up before she could actually revive anybody. But yeah, going forward, I'm kind of excited for Friday's video because it's going to be one of two things. I'm either going to be able to pull ML Bellona, or Melona as some people are calling it, and I'm gonna call her that because I love Melona, especially the banana one. The banana and melon are like lit. Oh yeah, basically I'm racing my opponent, like nothing new. CashLua Tings, who's gonna win? But yeah, so on Friday's video, it's either gonna be me testing out Melona in aggro or me punishing Melona players because I wasn't able to pity ML Bellona because I don't have enough mystics. So like, look out for that. I really hope I'm able to pull her though, just because she looks really fun. Like, she's kind of a single target damage dealer, but she's also able to handle like Landy and stuff because like she knocks her out of Guiding Light. So I'm quite excited to try that. I ban imprints because like, you know, like respecting your opponents and whatever. But also Melona's really hot, and I will not take back what I said in the title of this video where I say Lua's the inferior fan waifu to Bellona, because that's just the truth. We open up with Lua S2 on strays because it's the only person we can reliably hit, but LOL, who cares about hitting when it's gonna get resisted anyway. So we just go for the S3, and wow, look at that. A bunch of one-turn increases that render my opponent's team incredibly useless. And it's basically done from here. We're able to just push up, chip my enemy's team with Faithless Litica, reset strays, just because I was just honestly pressing my buttons as fast as I could to try and test my Shuri damage. But the Shuri damage was kind of not there. Bye-bye! I'll have to improve his build eventually when I get to farming KDs for like torrent build and whatever, but anyways. Yeah. But Lua, pretty good unit. I would rate her like in the highest tiers, honestly, because she's just like an amalgamation of all the things that are difficult about playing Epic 7 right now. She's one of those units that could be 310 speed. Also a really high effectiveness opener, so playing slower than her doesn't guarantee that you're gonna be safe from her. Guiding Light, extra turn, skill reset, proxy Pavel if you have the gear for the crit chance stuff. Like everything disgusting about Epic 7. But yeah, we're just playing. This is more of a aggro draft with Lua that I'm trying out here. I banned mitigation because I have a feeling that they're going to ban Ning Ning just because barrier inversion just really hurts SCR well. But my opponent actually surprisingly bans my Stenny here, so it's going to be a little tough because while Kawerick does go into stealth, he doesn't have full uptime on stealth, so it's not exactly like Stenny. And then to make matters worse, we also get our S2 sleep resisted, and we also get our defense break resisted. So apparently this is just like a 200 ER Karina or something, so yikes. And then what's even worse is that the Senya is on that Night Artifact, which pushes up CR whenever an ally is hit with a single attack. So I kind of have to go for the really big reach play and kill Celine, because Destina can't bring her back, not immediately anyway, thanks to Iseria. And then I'm thinking that maybe with Ning Ning I can just strip all the buffs off and then see where I can go from there. Unlucky, Lua didn't Guiding Light, so she dies. It's what she deserves. And we barrier invert my opponent's team, and we're able to strip off like basically all my opponent's buffs. So now the next thing I want to do is try to kill this Destina as fast as possible before my opponent's actually able to kill my Briar Witch Iseria, because Briar Witch Iseria is not on Guiding Light because I only have 2 Guiding Lights, unfortunately. And I think them being on Lua and Flitica is a little bit more useful. We don't crit Senya again, which actually really hurts. And then my opponent's Destina is able to go, and Destina basically is kind of able to stabilize here with the S3. So I was thinking like maybe I should have just pressed S2 onto Destina and go for the Soulburn on Iseria, which I think would have been the better play. We luckily do crit my opponent here, and then now we're able to try and stun something with Ning Ning, I think. We go for the Senya just so we can buy time for other DPSs, and I don't actually want my opponent to be pushing up and cleansing anything, so I go for the kill onto Destina. Senya is forced to pass her turn, and so I have to gamble for the hit onto Senya so that Karina has to pick between one of my 2 DPS units to kill. But Kawerick ends up killing himself on Senya, so that's kind of unlucky. But I think that was just a lapse in judgment. But yeah, I used to run a mid-speed Kawerick like this a few seasons ago, just because it was so good into hand guy, AOL, and stuff. But I just prefer running like Conqueror Aliases now because they're a lot more slammable. But Kawerick and Kisei, to an extent, are still very good into standard if you have the spare gear for them. It's just that I do not. I had to pull gear off of like Acid and Zahak and Sid to make this Kawerick. But yeah, we're basically running it back against a similar comp from the previous game, but this time I want to make sure that I do my boy Kawerick justice, especially since someone on my Discord requested to see a like speedy Kawerick showcase. But like, sorry fam, I can only do like 275. What a lot of people did was that they put their Ran gear onto Fire Kawerick, but I don't actually have gear for Fire Kawerick for Ran, so I could only give Fire Kawerick mid-speed gear. Like, you could honestly find better damage stats with like 20 extra speed on my Kawerick, but what can you do? Anyway, my opponent last picks Winter, and Winter is a pretty good unit into my team, but I was kind of expecting my opponent to ban the Politis, which is why I banned Winter, but they ended up actually banning Aiden instead, which I thought was a little surprising, especially since he had like Stenny. Though I guess it makes sense, because if I banned Stenny, Winter would have a very difficult time actually killing Aiden, just because Winter actually needs her attacks to hit, so like I can understand why that happened. Anyway, I digress. I proc Moon Bunny stuff on purpose, just because I want to give my Ning Ning a barrier to invert, and then I Soulburn into Destina just to make sure my opponent can't press any of his annoying buttons. And Kawerick is really good in that sense that he can hold book for ignore ER Soulburn, so he's like very self-sufficient. And we get the strip, we take the souls away from my opponent because I have that Ning Ning artifact, and we're basically able to just slam our our Politis into my opponent's team. And I was kind of expecting my Politis to be higher attack, but I guess Kawerick does by like a few hundred, so that's kind of awkward. But It's okay. I'm pretty sure Steny dies to this because my Politis is on a damage build, although it is also on Crown, just because. And bam, look at that. So basically now, all we have to do is to just whack our opponent's team a billion times, but luck is on our side because my Ning Ning is really high effectiveness, so she can potentially stun like SCR will and stun whatever. And Ning Ning is really good at pushing a unit up a billion times so they take a billion turns. So this game is like truly the Fire Kawerick showcase. We rip our S3 here, so we have additional damage thanks to the speed buff and the attack buff, even though he would have got one anyway thanks to the EE. And we do like really respectable damage. We're once again holding Lua's S3 just because I want to wait until the Spirit's Blessing or whatever falls off from Destina to see if you can reset her. And we're just gonna poke Kawerick. I think if Kawerick had the potential to chain his S2 stealth a lot longer, and I'm not saying like perma stealth it, but like I think currently he has to wait 2 turns to go back into stealth, and I think that's a little too long because it leaves him really exposed, so it makes him really only pickable into like short bursts of matches. But I digress. We kill Bunny Dom so we can use our extra turn Soulburns on Politis if we need to. And we press our Lua button because I will never be picking this unit again and I just want to see them one last time. She does have a very nice S3 animation though, including the part where her boobs like just defy gravity and physics and just like fly into different directions like googly eyes. But yeah, that's it for today's video where we tried out Lua and Kawerick. This is my Kawerick and Lua gear. Nothing too special except for Lua because she's kind of fast. But as always, thanks for watching and I'll catch you next time.